Hello, my name is attorney Shawn Smith. So glad to be back on Law Matters. Today, I'm excited to introduce a good friend and fellow business partner of mine, Mr. Jim Roman from the Business Owners Institute. Welcome, Jim.
Thank you for having me, Shawn.
Oh man, we have so many listeners out there, and today what I want you to talk to us about is how those small business owners, those entrepreneurs can grow their business. But before we get into that, give us a little bit of background about yourself. Where are you from? How did you get into this industry? And what specifically do you do to help businesses?
So I'm originally from Northeast Pennsylvania. I grew up in the restaurant business. My parents started a restaurant. I was 13 years old. My dad was tired of getting laid off in the manufacturing industry and decided to go into all industries, restaurants.
Yes.
And so I think part of how I got into this is, being raised in a business, small business owners. My aunts and uncles and cousins are in business. Mm-hmm. So I think it's in our DNA, if you will. So originally from Northeast Pennsylvania, made my way to Virginia via the Air Force. I served our country for 4.5 years.
Thank you.
And when I got out, I ran restaurants in Virginia. Realizing that restaurants are tough, I decided to start my own business in 1993. Did so well that I failed within 2 years. And I learned a lot. I think I learned more in my failures than I have in my successes.
Well, I got to pause you right there. You ironically said you did so well that you failed within your first 2 years. How does that even make sense?
Well, you can't go, and when you hit rock bottom, you can't. There's only one place to go, and that's up. Mm-hmm. I didn't know what I didn't know. The biggest issue was I didn't want to sell. And so if you don't sell, you don't have no sales, you have no business.
Mm-hmm. What specifically do you do now?
So, simply put, I'm a coach/consultant. But if you ask my clients, they would say we do one of three things. Either one, we make them more money so they can pay themselves more money or be able to hire more people. Number two, we give them more time to structure their business better. Or number three, we give them a life beyond the business. My favorite saying is helping people go from micro to millions while having a life.
Nice. So what one bit of advice would you give to business owners in terms of how to be more successful with their business?
Number one is to figure out what motivates you or what drives you. Mm-hmm. So I always ask clients, why do they do what they do? And the number one answer is to make money. And money is only so motivational, especially when you don't have any of it. Right. But if you have a purpose and passion for your profession or your product, you're going to be more likely to be more successful than most people.
Now, in growing my business, I'm hearing a lot about know your why. Is that something that you focus on as well?
One of the first things we ask is, why do you do what you do, your purpose and passion? I find the most successful people have a purpose and passion, where the least successful people lost it or never had it to begin with.
So Jim, I'm going to ask you a tough question now. What is your why?
Oh, people don't always ask that question of mine. I mean, the official answer is to help people, again, have a life beyond the business. Because my dad died of a heart attack at age 62. And when he died, the restaurant we owned died. And so I feel business owners are dying in their business every day. And if I can make a change in that to give them a life beyond or a life while they're building it, then I'm doing my purpose on the planet. But if you really, really want to know the reason, that this business is a ministry for me. Mm-hmm. I believe getting people closer to God is how we live this life. And so if we can help people give back to themselves, their families, and their communities, then they're getting close to God, whether they believe or not.
Beautiful, beautiful. Now, why do you think people need, well, not just people, but business owners need a coach or consultant? They may feel, listen, I could do this just fine on my own. Why would I pay somebody else to give me some instruction? How do you answer that question? Great
question. So I don't think it's a need as much as it's a benefit. So the most successful athletes, the most successful musicians have coaches. Right, look at football coaches and basketball coaches. Some of the greatest people have coaches, and so I find that by having a mentor or having a coach myself, I have more success. Doing it on my own, I have less success.
So it's someone to help motivate and inspire those business owners or business leaders to be more successful. Is that a good way to put it?
That's one of the things. It's also to be an encourager and hold them accountable.
Accountability is definitely important. Now, what are some of the ways that you do hold them accountable?
Well, one of the things that I ask in the beginning, other than their why, is where do they want to be beyond the business? So what are their dreams and aspirations? So I ask a lot of times, if time and money, education, family was not an issue, what would you be doing for fun beyond the business? Mm-hmm. Number one answer, I don't know. Or I haven't thought about that in a long time, Jim, because my business is running me.
Right.
I say, well, if you were to guess and you did have the time and the money to do something for fun, what would you want to do? And they would say, I would travel. And then I say, well, where? They go, anywhere right now. And so one of the things is holding them accountable to their dreams and aspirations. Most people forgot them, haven't had them. And so I want to make sure that we know we're clear on that, because why build a business? Hopefully to have money to be able to have a life.
Right. It seems as though you help to encapsulate individuals' vision. And as the good book says, where there is no vision, the people tend to perish. Now, one of the things you mentioned is that you help businesses make money. How do you do that?
So one of the first things is to figure out what's getting in the way of their growth, what's those roadblocks to growth. And one of those things is the people not getting in front of enough people. Right? I think you can get enough in front of people, whether you're good at sales or not, you're going to make money. Right? And so most people aren't taught in school or even in college how to do that. So they usually do advertising. And then my favorite one is hoping, praying, and begging it comes in.
Yes.
So if you have a plan, you're more likely to succeed with that plan.
Got you. So what are some of the ways that you can get in front of people in order to market what it is that you do?
So one of the first things is to figure out where the best place to find business is. And first and foremost is your current clients. Most people haven't tapped into the full potential of their current clients. They may have asked for a referral, not got a referral, and said, oh, there's no more business to be had. But if you develop the relationship, turn your clients into raving fans, they'll give you reviews, they'll give you referrals, they'll give you additional revenue. So tapping into your current clients is one of the first places we suggest people go. The second is your past clients. A lot of your past clients could definitely benefit from your services. I don't know how many times, every year at the end of the year, I reach out to past clients just to say, hey, how are you doing?
Right.
What's going on? What's life? And it's funny you should reach out to me, Jim. I'm thinking about my goals for next year. It's not funny. It's by design.
Right.
Because I want to help them if they're willing to work with me again. So looking there, the first and foremost, are some of the best places to start generating more sales.
Now, one of the ways that you and I connected is through this organization called BNI. And to be honest, before I joined it, I knew nothing about it. Now, first, what is BNI?
So BNI is a referral-based organization. So the referral groups around the world, it only allows one person per profession, and the sole purpose is to pass referrals. It was started in 1985 by a gentleman, Dr. Ivan Meisner, who was just trying to build his coaching business, his consulting business, and realized I need more business like anybody else. So he started a referral group. It worked so well, and because he only allowed one person per profession, someone came to him and said, hey, can you help me start my own group? So he started a second group and a third group, and then 50 groups later, he realized I have a business here.
And what does BNI stand for?
Business Network International.
Now, how long have you been a part of BNI?
Over 20 years.
Now, not only are you a member of the BNI, the same BNI chapter that I am, and that chapter is called what again?
BNI Gold Partners.
Gold Partners. And when do we meet?
We meet Tuesday mornings at 7:15.
When I first heard that, when John's like, that is early in the morning to be getting up, to be, doing, I don't want to call it work, but trying to get in front of other people. Why is it at 7:15 in the morning?
I don't know how I got started that way. It used to be 7 o'clock in the morning around the world. They didn't do lunches, and I guess it's just because it's a great way to start the day making money.
And what is it that we do at 7 o'clock? Well, 7:15 in the morning.
Right. So the first thing is we're meeting and greeting everybody for the first 15 minutes, called open networking, following up on referrals, meeting and greeting guests, whether that's online or in person. Then we formally get started at 7:30, where the president introduces the leadership team. Then we have a purpose and overview why we're meeting, to let people know, remind us each week that we're here to build relationships, to get referrals, to hopefully grow our businesses. Then we have introductions of the members, then the guests, and then we have the referral portion at the very end, and we finish up with a positive quote for those members who are looking for that positive quote for the meeting.
But why are you a member of BNI?
Well, referrals are one of the best ways to build your business, and word of mouth is one of the ways to get those referrals. I got involved 20 years ago, but so much sort of a happenstance. So I was working for a business coach. I lasted 28 days working for this gentleman. I was in a publishing business, wasn't happy. After 4 years of cold calling, I said, I have to do something different. I always wanted to be a coach, and I happened to finish a business course with this coach, and I said, hey, I always wanted to be a coach. And he said, I'm hiring coaches, come work. So I went to work for him for 28 days, but it didn't work out. It just wasn't a fit. So he said, hey, of all my clients, is there anybody you want to meet? And I said, well, that BNI thing. I went to a BNI meeting 20 years ago, and I felt called to do BNI.
Wow.
And then I convinced the owner to hire me, and the rest was history.
What is it about BNI that drew you to it?
Well, the truth of the matter is I am gifted with a marketing mindset. When I was in 11th grade, I was in Sunday school, and I was thinking about ad campaigns. I thought I would own an ad agency one day. So I'm good at with taglines. I'm good at magnetic messages. And when I visited my first BNI group, my first words in my head were, I can teach adults how to market. And I'm like, what kind of thought was that? I can teach adults how to market? Well, my first business was network marketing, and I failed because I failed to sell. And I realized what was missing in that direct mail business or direct selling business is that I didn't know how to master my marketing message. And so BNI is one of the things it does for me is that within 60 seconds, you have to ask for referrals, and there's a strategic way of doing that. And so I just felt led to do that.
You didn't know how to master your marketing message.
Yes.
Wow. Can you dig a little bit deeper into that? What does that mean to master your marketing message? How do I know if I'm mastering my marketing message?
Sure. So one of the things as a trainer, I teach people when networking or in a referral group or in a chamber of commerce, how you introduce yourself. So your typical 60-second commercial is typically a sales approach. Shawn, what do you do? Oh, I'm an attorney. I do this, that, and the other. Versus when from a referral perspective, is this is who I'm looking to be introduced to. So depending on who you're talking to, you want to master your message so that they hear what you want to hear. I'll give you a good example. So when I was cold calling, so in 93, I failed in 95, I needed a mentor. So I called up a friend of mine, I said, I'll come work for you, I'll work for food. He laughed, I'm like, no, literally, I'm broke, I'll work for food. And so he brought me under his wing, he taught me how to sell, which was priceless. His name was Paul Dittmar, I thank him to this very day. Well, I said to him, I want more mentoring. He goes, well, I don't have time, I'll introduce you to another gentleman, his name is Richard K. So I met Richard K in 96, and he taught me how to cold call as well. But he taught me something I didn't know he taught me. Imagine calling somebody, cold calling them about advertising and having them call you back.
What? Yeah. When I get calls, people advertising, I take a message and I don't plan on calling them back. So how is it that you got people to call you back?
So I was in Newport News. I got a phone call back from somebody from Williamsburg where I was selling my ads, and I'm like, okay, how did that just happen? Like someone actually called me back. So I started breaking down the script that he gave me. So I remember the script to this day. I teach people this all the time. So the script was this. It said, hi, I'm Jim Roman calling on behalf of Kingsgate Resort. We're doing a special promotion in conjunction with Busch Gardens and wanted to know if you wanted to be involved in that. Give me a call back. Here's my number. Again, Jim Roman. So I broke down what I've been saying versus what were people hearing. So if you say that again, hi, this is Jim Roman calling on behalf of Kingsmill Resort. We're doing a special promotion in conjunction with Busch Gardens. Wanted to see if you want to be a part of that. So people would call me back and say, yeah, I want to find out about the special promotion with Busch Gardens.
Yeah, exactly.
They didn't hear anything else.
Exactly.
Right. And so then I took that to when I got back on my feet later in 96, I started doing the same thing. So I turned my script around. When I used to do hotel guest directors, I would say, we're doing a special promotion in conjunction with the Comfort Suites. Our guests stay at our hotel 2 to 3 days, and they're eating out each one of those days. And we wanted to know if you would want that business. So they heard, there's a guy here from Comfort Suites who wants to send us business from his guests.
Yeah.
That's not exactly what I said, but it's what they heard. And so when networking, people are listening a particular way. And so if you know how to master that marketing message, whether it's networking with your family, with your partners, or anything, it makes a big difference in bringing in business and getting people to do business with you.
We talked about our membership in BNI, but I want to touch into the fact that not only you are a member, but you grew BNI's prior to becoming a part of the member organization that we are, the Gold members. Where did you do this, and how is it that you were able to grow these BNI chapters?
Yes, so I was in Central Virginia, Richmond, Virginia area. Asked the owner to hire me. He said, I can't afford to hire you. I said, well, I got to do this. I'm led to do this. So he hired me. That was in November of 1998. I moved to Richmond, Virginia in 99 to develop that region. So I built it from 0 members to 1,600 members in 6 short years. I was managing over 65 chapters at the time. BNI happens to be a franchise, which I didn't know at the time. I just thought it was a bunch of networking groups around the world, but come to find out it's a franchise, and the gentleman I worked for owned 4 franchises. So I started working with him, being led to do this, and I was good at, he was one of the top directors in the world, so I was fortunate to have him as my mentor as well as his wife, and just started to grow it to help people get more business. Then eventually I knew I built it, I might as well buy it.
Yeah.
So I turned around and said, I would like to buy the business. How much is it? He told me how much, and I wrote him a check, and next thing you know it, I owned that business.
Wonderful. Again, we're talking about your calling. What is it that becoming, for the traditional everyday person out there, what is it that becoming a member of BNI can do for you, in addition to having being a referral source and having a referral network around you?
So there's a great book called World's Best Known Marketing Secret. The author is Dr. Ivan Misner and Mike Macedonia, and it's about building a word-of-mouth business, right? So people would agree that word-of-mouth is the best way to build a business. And Ivan, who's PhD, realized that there was no topic or any books on the subject of word-of-mouth marketing in any college book in the country. So he decided to write a book on this and became a bestseller. That word of mouth is the best, and referrals is the second way, is the way of getting that business. So by getting involved in a BNI group, a referral group, or even a chamber group, that community of connections makes a big difference because it's structured to some extent. And that way, meeting on a regular basis, you're going to have people who know you, eventually like you, and then trust you.
About building relationships with other individuals. One of the things that you and I talked about in what we call one-to-ones in BNI, before I even go into that, what is a one-to-one?
So one-to-one is a meeting between two individuals, whether it's in a referral group or outside a referral group, to build a relationship that you can get to be known by each other, then liked, and then trusted. And it's me getting to know your goals and aspirations, you're getting to know my goals and aspirations, what's your background, what's my background, to the point where you go, you know, I really like Shawn. I really like the bow ties he wears. They're pretty sharp. And
even though I'm not wearing one today.
Right? And so you just build that relationship in, again, I keep on saying structured environment. And that's important. What I love about BNI other organizations, and they're great organizations out there, but they teach you and train you how to do this.
Yes.
And that's important. And so I don't have to teach you and train you, they do it for me.
They do.
I think that's one of the selling points between, what's the difference between BNI and any other referral group? I say they train the people for me, so I don't have to do it.
Now, one of the things that we talked about when we were having our discussion is the concept of giver's gain. And that's one of the mottos of BNI per se. What does that mean?
So what does it mean? What is it intended to mean? What do people think it means?
What is it intended to mean?
Okay. So essentially the saying goes, Dr. Myers would say, if you give business to me, I'll give business to you. What goes around comes around.
Yeah.
And I think that's misleading to some people because I might give you business, but you have no way to give me business. But in a group of 25 to 35 people, I might give you business, you give business to the realtor gives it to the commercial insurance, and the commercial insurance gives it to me. So I say what goes around comes around in a structured environment with a good group of people.
Yeah. So one of the things that you talk specifically about is finding ways to give to other individuals in the network group. Focus on 3 individuals. How can I help that person's business? Why did you think that advice was so important?
So early on in BNI was designed to pass referrals, right? And we were fortunate enough to have a mentor who always was thinking ahead. And so he wanted to make a bigger impact and thought referrals do not pay the bills. Closed business pays the bills. So one of my colleagues at the time, Mike Garrett, he came up with the thank you for closed business model that you see around the world today. And we helped to fine tune that because we believe that if you're making money, you're going to tell other people they're going to get involved in your group. So making money. So I forgot the question now.
No problem. The question was, why do you think it was so important to give or help other businesses grow in terms of the concept of giver's gain? Why focus on 3 other network resources and say, I'm going to help that business grow in my concept or in my way of allowing, the concept of giver's gain? Right.
So what I find is when people get involved in any networking group, referral group, they want exposure. They think exposure is going to get them business. In fact, I was working with a personal trainer and she said, I'm hiring you to just get me exposure. I was like, I'd rather get you closed business. She's like, no, Jim, I just want exposure. I said, okay, great. 30 days later, she calls me up. She says, you talked about getting me closed business because exposure isn't working, right? So I think the first phase people realize visibility, just being in front of people doesn't guarantee you business. And then there's this side of it, helping other people get business. You're more likely to get business. And then getting people closed business, you best be getting something back from that person, whether it's a referral or an introduction to a strategic partner.
Right.
And so I think that to take any organization to the next level, it's not about visibility. It's not just about giving referrals. It's making sure you're making an impact in their life and their business. And then they feel guilty. I mean, they want to help you back. And that what goes around comes around.
Yes, yes. And the good book says it's better to give than to receive. But the concept I think that's very astounding is that in order for me to receive anything, I should spend time and motivation in giving. And then as a result of that, as a consequence of that, as a result of that, I'm going to get something in return. And that's a very unique concept that I've learned in BNI that I've heard no other place, is that givers gain. So focused on giving. And the more you focus on giving, as a result, you're going to receive something in return.
So going back to your question of why focus on 3 people, I want to answer that question. So when you're in a group of 25 to 35 people, it can be overwhelming trying to help everybody in the group.
Yes.
So I found that if you focus on 2, no more than 3 people, it makes it more doable, manageable in the long run. For example, I was trying to help a commercial realtor. So I decided for the day that I was driving around, I would focus on helping a commercial realtor. Never helping a commercial realtor before, I focused on that person all day. And interesting enough, I figured out how to help a commercial realtor. So I went on to helping a banker. I said, okay, I'm now going to help a banker. I don't know how to help a banker, get the banker referrals. And so I started focusing on that and calling people who do business with bankers and how do you give banker businesses? And in turn, I figured that out. So by focusing on 2 to 3, it's more manageable and doable than trying to help the whole group, because it can get overwhelming and just be very difficult.
Now, did you reap any rewards, or what were some of the rewards that you received by helping these 2 businesses?
Oh yeah, one of the things that's interesting in building the BNI business, I remember one time a mortgage person was moving away to New York, and she's quitting. And I just figured out how to help mortgage people. And so I called my mentor going, you won't believe what happened. This mortgage person's quitting. And he goes, I don't see the problem. I'm like, I just learned how to help mortgage person and they're quitting. I mean, we're moving. He's like, well, I don't see the problem. You now know how to help mortgage people. I'm like, oh my God. So the next mortgage person I met that I liked in my groups, I said, hey, I had a question for you. I just learned, that this took the last 12 months figuring out how to help a mortgage person make more money. Would you like to know that knowledge? And they go, yeah. And so I shared the knowledge with them and they became one of my best friends. Next thing you know, I'm like, I can help any mortgage person. Because once you figure out how to help an industry or a person, you can help them forever.
Man, so it seems like you spend a lot of your time figuring out how to help other people.
Yes. So, one of the questions I always think about, people always say, how did I get where I'm at today? Because a mentor of ours said, what I said earlier is most BNI referral groups are about passing referrals. And they don't focus on the closed business. They track the closed business, but they don't focus on the closed business. And our mentor taught us to help people make money. I said, that's going to be hard. He goes, I didn't say it was going to be easy, but the return on those results is astronomical. And so when I would visit BNI groups, I'd say, hey, how's BNI working for you? And they go, oh, it's great. Are you making any money? No. I'm like, well, then how's it great? Oh, it's time. I'm like, would you like to make money? And they go, yeah. And so I started working with people how to make money from their networking efforts, specifically referral efforts, got really, really good at it. And next thing you know, I'm helping hundreds of realtors, hundreds of mortgage people, hundreds of insurance people. And that gift now I can use in my coaching and consulting practice.
I want to go back to you mentioning your dad, who was the owner of the restaurant business. What kind of food did you sell at the restaurant?
Your basic, hometown meals: hamburgers, hot dogs, meatloaf, pork chops, and things like that. Soups.
Did you work in the business?
I did. I started up at age 13 peeling potatoes and washing dishes.
Oh my goodness! And so, how long did you work in the business while your dad was there?
So I was there from when I was 13 up until I went to the Air Force at 19.
Okay, so a good 6 years.
Yeah. I would say 5 years because I took a little break, from my parents. So before I went into the military.
Was it you and your brother?
Me and my 2 brothers. Yeah.
And are they older than you or younger?
I have one older, one younger.
Were you at the Air Force when your dad passed?
I was. No, I actually got out of the Air Force. Dad passed away in '96. I was already out 4 years.
And what was the impact to that restaurant business that your dad had?
Like I said earlier, when he died, the restaurant died. In fact, we were told if he ever passed in the business, we were to close the business and never step foot in it again.
Wow. Wow. Why is it that it passed when he passed?
He had no succession. He wanted his boys to take over. Right. My older brother moved away. Younger brother was willing to take it over, but then he passed away before that could happen and didn't have a succession plan.
I see. You didn't want to take it over?
No, I'm a middle child and I had syndromes back then. Working for your parents can be hard. My dad was, always say, fix this, fix that, do better that, do better this, which at the time as a teenager was like, get off my back. But years later, I became that kind of leader too, because I want the best for my customers.
And I know you mentioned this before, but what kind of impact did that have on you seeing your dad? And when I say impact, not just, hey, listen, I lost my dad, but seeing the business go down with it?
Well, so one of the things I keep on coming to my mind this year, I don't know why, but when I was younger, about 14, 15, I heard my parents arguing downstairs. And I'm listening from the upstairs going, I think my parents are going to get a divorce. And so when I talked to my mom, I said, are you and Daddy going to get a divorce? She says, where did you ever come up with that idea? I was like, well, you guys are arguing. She's like, we're not arguing. We're complaining about our employees. And I was like, okay. And I memorized that. And so when my dad passed away, I was thinking he didn't get to enjoy the full fruits of his labors. And that sunk into my head. So I've been doing this for 16 years, and 2/3 of that was helping people make more money and having more time. I thought if I made my clients more money and more time, and I'm really good at that, my team is good at that, they would just enjoy life. Well, no, you got to help them to enjoy life beyond the business. You got to help them to figure out where to start because the business runs them. So when I say, what are you going to do in your spare time? They go, I don't have time for spare time. And when they do have spare time, what are they thinking about? The business.
Right. And that's what you saw about your family. All they was doing is thinking about the business.
I think the business essentially killed my dad because when we would take time off to go camping or to go on vacation, he'd be worried about the restaurant. When it would snow, he'd be worrying about the roof caving in or the compressor on the freezer going out. You can see the physical stress on his body when he thought about that restaurant. And so, yeah, I think it killed him. And I think that's happening for a lot of people. The business is killing them.
So, and how long have you been doing this coaching?
16 years.
So with your 16 years of advice, if you could go back and talk to your dad, what would you tell him?
So the year that he passed, he had a minor heart attack. And I went home to visit him, and he said, you know, my mom said to me in the living room, she said, tell your dad to retire. I said to my mom that Dad's not going to retire. And I said, if he retired, he's afraid he's going to have a heart attack. And if he had a heart attack, you wouldn't be taken care of. And my dad goes, well, you're pretty smart. And I'm like, well, I did have good parents, right? I always think about that story because I wish I would have completed that story. I wish I would have said what I say now is that what would you do, Dad, if you retired, what would you do for fun? And it would be spend time with my mom. He loved my mom dearly, right? What would you do if he had a purpose and passion? Well, he had dreams and aspirations beyond the business, beyond just his current circumstances. I think a lot of people would live longer. Most people who retire from the military have heart attacks.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think if you know what's next in life, whether it's next today, next tomorrow, next year, and I think that would have made the difference. So I would have asked him what he would have done for fun and then work on a plan to start having him have more fun beyond the business.
Yeah. How do you get someone from a practical standpoint who's just so focused on the business and listen, I know I need to be thinking about the business because if I'm not thinking about the business, it's not going to be productive. How do you get them to make that transition like, okay, here's the things that you need to put in place so that you don't have to stress about it?
So I'm an avid reader. I read a lot of business books because I want to learn from other people's successes and other people's mistakes. And so part of it is changing their mindset. So one of my favorite books is Built to Sell by John Orlow. I read that book probably quicker than any other book I've ever read before. It was that good. And I don't know if it's because E-Myth by Michael Gerber never told me how to do it. Built to Sell tells you how to do the E-Myth and put it into practice.
Okay.
So Built to Sell is essentially building a business that can run without, whether you're going to sell it or not, it can run without you. And E-Myth are the parts and pieces that putting them together can help you to get there.
Okay, so I've read E-Myth. Now I've got to go to Built to Sell.
Yes, you're going to love it. Because he references Michael Gerber's book. He's worked with Michael Gerber in the past. I've done all of Michael Gerber's stuff, and at the end of it, after I don't know how many hours of listening to his stuff and reading his stuff, he never tells you how, ever. Right. And so when I read John's book, I actually reached out to John and said, I want to hire you. How do I do that? He goes, well, buy 300 of my books and you get me for free. So I bought 300 of his books and I got them for free.
And Built to Sell, I guess the concept is building your business in preparation to sell it?
It's to simplify your business so it can run without you. So when you sell it, and I've sold several businesses myself, I've helped my clients sell their businesses by coaching them how to do that. Your business becomes more valuable. If the business depends on you, it's less valuable. If it can run without you, it's more valuable.
Nice, nice. That's a lesson that needs to be said more often. If the business can run without you, it is more valuable. And oftentimes, I wonder if I can ask you this. Do you think most businesses, most owners like your dad felt that this business needs me in order to be successful?
100%. 100%. No one can do it as good as you. I think people can do it better than you, but we're not going to go there.
Right. So we need to come out of that mindset in terms of my business needs to be codependent on me, and that's what makes it successful. What really the built to sell theme is telling us is, no, you need to have your business run without you. That's when it will be successful.
Yeah, what's interesting, I'm reading another book, because I told you I read a lot. The one is Build a Business, Not a Job.
Right.
And the concept is, in the beginning stages, the business is dependent on you 100%.
Right.
And the later stages, it's independent of you.
Right.
Right. And in the middle, it relies on you. And it resonates because we talk about that in the beginning, the business owns you, later you own it. Mm-hmm. And so this book words it differently, which I kind of like, which in the beginning, it's dependent, mm-hmm. then reliant, and then independent of you. Mm-hmm. Less valuable, more valuable. No life, full life.
So in essence, if I can vacation in Bermuda and Bahamas 365 days of the year and the business is still running effectively, that's ideal.
100%. Not everybody wants that. I've worked with a lot of people that they're happy with their lifestyle business, uh-huh. and I'm like, okay, I don't get that, but okay. Uh-huh. But yeah, if that's what you want, you can actually achieve that.
And just to hit the nail on the head, that's what you teach.
That's what I help guide people to get to, yes.
So if you want to be vacationing in Bermuda, where I was born, while your business is running and making money, give Jim Roman a call.
That's correct. I appreciate that, yes. Well, at least we'll work towards that, because again, it goes back to why you're doing what you're doing, mm-hmm. what are your dreams and aspirations, and mm-hmm. are you willing to do what it takes to get there? And I think the reward is big enough to be able to have that as your inspiration.
Thanks again, Jim. I'm going to be calling you often as my BNI coach and mentor.
Yes, please do.
And I appreciate the information and tools that you've given our listening audience to help them run a better business. And if they don't own a business, maybe even their personal lives. So, Jim, I really appreciate you coming on. In closing, I want to talk more specifically about your business, right? Where can it be found online? What are some of the services that you provide?
Sure. So you can go to my website at jimromanonline.com. Again, that's jimromanonline.com. And we offer services to helping people to first make money. If they're making money but they don't have time, we help them to get more time by getting more off their plate. And then my dreams and aspirations, my ministry is helping people have a life beyond the business. While growing the business, you should be enjoying the life beyond the business. And so we have coaching, consulting, classes, and courses, methodologies and modalities to help you get the results, not just the information.
And if they just want to pick up the phone and give you a call, what number should they dial?
They can call my office at 804-938-8326. Again, that's 804-938-8326.
Again, I want to thank you all for listening to this podcast. So excited to have Jim Roman with the Business Owners Institute here to give you some advice and some lessons on how you can grow your business. Thank you again, Jim.
Thank you for having me, Shawn. Appreciate it.